Hi everyone, and welcome to the STARS Reporting Tool 101. My name is Megan Faye Zonizer, and I'm the STARS Program Manager at AASHE. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. This is the second webinar in a series of webinars AASHE will be hosting to raise awareness about STARS, the Sustainability Tracking, Assessment, and Rating System. Just last month, we launched STARS 1.0, the first version where colleges and universities can earn a rating. I'd encourage you to check out our new website, stars.aashe.org, where anyone can access the STARS technical manual, as well as other resources. Today we're going to walk you through the STARS reporting tool, one of the primary benefits of participating in the STARS program. You'll hear from other members of the STARS team, including Ben Stuckey, our STARS lead web application developer, and Laura Matson, the STARS technical developer. They will walk us through the STARS reporting tool and its various features, including credit documentation, submissions, new features and resources, and finally at the end, we will go through Q&A. The software we're using today automatically mutes attendees, but we encourage you to enter any questions in the question pane in the toolbar on the right side of your screen. Jillian Buckholz, STARS Program Coordinator, is monitoring the questions pane, and we'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible before the end of our webinar. Any questions that we were unable to answer during the webinar will be addressed afterwards and posted to our website. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website shortly after the broadcast today. Now, with the logistics taken care of, I'd like to turn it over now to Ben, who will introduce you to the STARS reporting tool. Ben?
Hi, thanks, Megan. Okay, shortly you should see my screen here. I'm just going to pull it up. So now you should see the STARS homepage, and we'll just get started in this section with managing your institution's account. And to start with, we'll have to log in, and through the registration process, you should have created an AASHE account. So I'll go ahead and log in. Once I'm logged in, you can see here at the top that my account is up there, and I'm actually associated with AASHE. So I'll go ahead and go into the reporting tool here, and I have a couple options. I can work through my submission already, or I can manage my institution. And since this section is about managing the institution, I'll go ahead and click there. You can see it's also in the left-hand column. This menu is persistent throughout the reporting tool section. So the first thing you see here is the contact information, which is the primary liaison as well as the executive contact. This is information that you will have entered during the registration process, but you can come back here and edit it at any time. The next thing I'll talk about is the institutional boundary. And the institutional boundary is another sort of property of your institution that describes the submission and the context of the submission. And I'll show you how to get to that right here. If you click on submission sets, I should note right now that I'm actually an administrative user for this institution. So I'm seeing the Manage Institution tab. Data entry users and observers will not have access to this section of the reporting tool. So I see the current submission sets, and you can see that this one's actively in progress. But the thing I'm interested in right now is the edit boundary. So we're going to go ahead and click on the edit boundary button. And you can see that it's just plain text. You would type in here some description of the boundary of your submission. We expect you to use the entire campus, but you may have satellite facilities or other buildings that are or are not included in the submission for certain reasons. So you would enter that information here, and this information will go public with your submission at the end of your submission process once you have actually submitted for a rating. But none of this information goes public until that point. All right, so I will go into the Users tab next, which is where you can grant access to users for anybody who needs to access the reporting tool. And this is really powerful because you can then add people from different departments or different campuses and give them their own access to the web tool. which hopefully will help with the communication process and just make it easier for you to manage the data entry process. So in this case, you can see I can actually, since I'm an administrative user here, I can add a new user with any of the 3 roles that are assigned right now. The administrator can submit for a rating, add other users, and access this whole Manage Institution section. Data entry users can go into the My Submission section and edit and save credits, but they can't actually submit the credits for a rating. Only the administrator can do that. And then finally you have the observer role, which is designed for people who need access to the tool but don't necessarily need to change any of the data. So I'll go ahead here and actually add a data entry user. I'm going to add Laura Matson, who's going to be presenting next. I'm going to notify her as well. I have an option to notify someone by email of any new accounts. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now she has data entry privileges to the reporting tool. So she can go in and edit any credits, save them. But she can't actually make the credits go public. Only the administrator, again, can do that. So yeah, just in conclusion, this should serve as a good way for you to grant other people access to the tool, as well as hopefully improve communication, because each credit has an internal notes field that doesn't go public with your submission in the end, but can be used as a communication tool between users during the process. So I think that pretty much describes the Manage Institution section of the site. I'm not going to go into the payment history right now. That's mostly to do with registration. And I'll pass it over to Laura, who's going to talk to you a bit about credit documentation. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the right-hand pane. You should see the questions form. And any at the end, we'll try and answer. So with that said, I'll try and pass it to Laura.
Thanks, Ben. So as Ben's passing the screen here to me, there's a couple things to flag. The first is that Ben is working off of a Mac and I'm working off of a PC, and so it may appear slightly different. Likewise, Ben was using Chrome and I'm using Firefox. The website and reporting tools should work on all internet browsers. You could use Safari or Internet Explorer. But even if it looks slightly different, the functionality is all identical. It'll work in the same way. So I'm here at the STARS website. I'm going to go ahead and log in and get access to the account that Ben just created for me. Log in. And I'm agreeing to the terms of service here. As the first time you log in with a new STARS account, you'll agree to the terms of service. You can see I'm affiliated with AASHE again, so I'm going to click right here on the reporting tool, link. And since I'm set up as a data entry user, as Ben described, I don't have access to that Manage Institution option, so I can't add new users. I can't complete the final submission, but I can go in and enter data for some credits. So that's what I'm going to do here today. I'm going to walk you through a couple of credits, highlighting some of the features within the reporting tool. So to get started, the page that you land on once you go to your submission is the submission summary page. This is a really handy page. It provides an excellent snapshot of your progress so far. So it will show your status, the rating that you've earned based on the credits that you've submitted. As you can see, AASHE as an organization hasn't submitted any credits yet, so our provisional score is 0. It has our deadline here, which is 12 months after registration. This table is expandable. We can click on these little plus icons and get into the various subcategories and click on any of these credits to get into them. We can also use this left-hand column to navigate to any of the credits. So I'm going to start out by walking through a credit in the purchasing subcategory, and that is OP Credit 10, Computer Purchasing. This is one of the more complicated or nuanced STARS credits. That's why we're going to walk through this one just to highlight a bunch of the features. So you'll see right up here at top, the status is blank because we haven't started entering any data for this credit yet. It's out of 2 possible points, and we haven't earned any points, again, because we haven't entered any information. So there's 3 tabs that come up here. Credit info provides an overview of the credit. So you can see the criteria that an institution must meet in order to earn points for the credit. The applicability, there are some STARS credits that don't apply to all institutions. This one does. Scoring details how points are calculated for the credit. And then the measurement section provides some background about the time frame, sampling, and data standards. So credit. For those of you who are familiar with the STARS technical manual, this information should look familiar. It's identical to what's included in the STARS technical manual. It's just copied here for easy reference. The one thing to note about the criteria for this section is that it's a 2-part credit. The first part is based on having an institution-wide stated preference for purchasing EPEAT silver or higher computers. And the second part, which is worth 1.5 points, is based on your actual computer purchases. So we're going to click over to this next tab here, Reporting Fields, to highlight one other feature. If you look here right next to the Credit Info tab, you'll see this pop-out icon. And if we click on that, we can see all of the same information included in the Credit Info alongside of the reporting fields. So if you want that sort of as a handy reference to go back and forth, you can do that. Since we've already looked through this, I'm just going to close it. So looking at the reporting fields, this is probably the tab on which you'll spend the most time within the credit documentation. If we look up at top, the first thing you'll come across is this key. So there's a red asterisk for required fields and a blue asterisk to indicate conditionally required fields. Now, some reporting fields for STARS are required in order to earn them, and conditionally required means that based on what you submit for other reporting fields, it may or may not be required. So for example, if we look at this first reporting field here, there's a red asterisk, it's required. Does the institution have an institution-wide stated preference to purchase EPEAT silver or higher computers and monitors? If we answer yes to this, which again is part 1 of the credit, we are pursuing it. So then we look down here, and if you look at this little italicized text here, it says this field is required if you're claiming points for part 1. So that's the condition under which this field is required. Since we said yes to that first question, we are pursuing points for part 1, so this field is going to be required. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter a URL. And likewise, this second field here, a description of the steps the institution has taken, etc. This field is also required, so I'm just going to enter some text there. Another thing, just going back up here to point out, is this little question mark icon. You'll see this icon throughout the STARS reporting tool. If we click on it here, a little help text pops up. So in this case, it's a little bit of background about EPEAT, about the standard. There's even a link here that we could click on to be taken to the oh, I'm sorry, I'm just getting a note that we can't see my screen. Browser window. Oh, sorry about that for those who can't see my screen. Maybe can someone confirm that you can now see it?
Seems to be working fine, Laura.
Okay, sorry about that. So just going back to this help icon, these are included throughout the site, provides a little bit of background. I think I was saying that this includes a link, so you could be taken to the EPEAT site if you want to look up additional products or get more information about the standard. So we're going to keep scrolling down here. We're getting into part 2 of the credit. You can go ahead and enter some information here. We're going to pursue part 2, which is going to include some numbers here, expenditures on EPEAT Gold and Silver, and then total expenditures on computers. The next field we come across as we work down is the notes field. And this is a public notes field, so this is going to be included with the submission when it's made public. And this field can be used, it's optional. You'll notice there's not a red asterisk here or a blue asterisk. So you can use it if you wish. You can use it to provide contextual information or background information about your submission. So for example, for this credit, if your institution has an EP purchasing policy only at the law school, but not covering the entire campus, you could provide that as background. Or say you are reporting computer expenditure data from last year, but you just adopted a new EP purchasing policy last week, and so your data don't reflect the new policy being implemented. You can provide that as background or context. So folks who view your STARS report will be able to get a richer or fuller picture about what's going on. This field is included for all credits, but it's optional for all credits. So I'm just going to skip over it here. The next thing you come across is the responsible party field. One of the key strategies to ensure that data submitted for STARS are accurate is to have a responsible party vouch for the accuracy of the data. So in this case, it's a purchasing credit. It would probably be someone from the purchasing department who's familiar with purchasing policies and can vouch for the accuracy of the data. The responsible party's name will be included with the public report. So to add a responsible party, you just click on this green plus sign to add the responsible party. And go ahead and fill it in. I'm going to add myself as the responsible party for this credit. And click Add. And I'm just going to check this box to affirm that the information included in the submission is accurate to the best of my knowledge. So the next final step down here is to save with status. And these statuses are provided as a project management tool. You can see complete, in progress, and not pursuing are the three options for this credit. So you could use complete to indicate I'm done reporting data for this credit, it's ready to go. In progress, maybe you've started it, but it's not quite done yet. You want to return to it. And not pursuing can be used if you know for sure you don't have an EP purchasing policy, you don't purchase EP computers, you're not going to pursue this credit. You can go ahead and mark that off so you know that it's taken care of. So I'm done with the submission here, and I'm actually not going to hit save to show. If you accidentally forget to hit save, or say you enter data for the first couple fields, but then get distracted and move away, so I'm clicking to move on to another credit, I get a warning message that pops up. It says this page contains unsaved data. So I'm going to cancel navigating away and save the changes. There are similar warnings incorporated throughout the site. For example, if I had gotten my numbers mixed up and had accidentally claimed that I had spent more on EP Gold computers than I had spent total on computers, I would get an error message letting me know that I need to correct the error. So I've saved my status here. I can go back and return to the purchasing summary table to show that the credit has been saved. You can see the new status here is that it's complete and that I've earned 1 out of 2 points for this credit. Even though I marked the status as complete, again, that's just a project management tool. I can still go back and edit the credit. You can continue returning to the credits and editing them as much as you want until you make the final submission. So now that I'm back here, I'm going to highlight this third tab here, which is the internal notes field. And this notes field, in contrast to the public notes field, which would be made public upon submission, this field here is not public. It's just available to those with user accounts as been described. So this internal notes field, you can use it as a project management tool to communicate with those submitting data for your institution. Say you're first getting started and you've approached the purchasing department, you could use this space to say, hey, I contacted Sally in purchasing on February 15th, and so you have a record of it here. Or if you want to return to this in future years, you could indicate where your backup files are saved regarding this credit or any other information. So that is the internal notes field. This field is also optional and is provided for each credit. So now that I've walked through one credit, the full process, I'm actually going to go to one other credit in the education and research category, and it's a curriculum credit, just to highlight a couple of additional features. So I'm looking at ER Credit 10 for an undergraduate program in sustainability. Now this credit, if you're looking at this and saying undergraduate program in sustainability, I don't have any undergraduate programs, or my institution is purely a business school, we only offer an MBA degree. If you look at this credit info, it pops up in the applicability section here, says this credit applies to all institutions that have undergraduate majors, academic programs, or the equivalent. So you're thinking, oh, this credit doesn't apply to me. I couldn't possibly earn this credit. We don't offer those programs. You'll notice up here at the top it says credit doesn't apply to you. Click here. So I'm going to click on that link, and it takes me down just to the bottom. And you'll notice there's now a fourth status available, and that is not applicable. So I'm going to select that here. And the reason that the credit doesn't apply pops up that I can select. And the reason the institution does not have undergraduate majors, so I'm going to select that reason. There's a couple of STARS credits that don't apply for a couple of different reasons, or there may be multiple reasons, so you would select the reason that's appropriate for your institution. Now, how STARS scoring works, you aren't penalized for credits that don't apply to you, so you don't earn points for them, but it also doesn't count against your final score. Those points are effectively removed from the denominator. And so we need a responsible party to vouch for the fact that the credit doesn't apply and the institution doesn't have undergraduate majors, etc. So since I added myself as a responsible party on a previous credit, I can use this drop-down menu here and select myself again. So that's a little time saver. You don't have to enter the contact information for the responsible party each time. You can just use that drop-down. I'm going to click affirm that it's accurate and save. I'm done with that credit, and you can look real quickly at the summary table and see the updated status. The credit is not applicable, and those points have been removed from the denominator. The total has been adjusted for non-applicable credits. That's the step-by-step for walking through saving data and getting the credits ready for the final submission. I'm going to pass the window back to Ben so he can walk you through those stages of finalizing the submission.
Great, thank you, Laura. I've now shared my screen here, and you'll see I'm at the summary section that Laura just showed you. And in this case, I'm actually the administrator of the account, so I can submit for a rating at this time. And so we'll go ahead and pretend that we filled out the majority of the credits, or all of them, have a provisional score and a provisional rating that we're happy with, and we want to move on. So we would go and click on the Submit for Rating button here. There's also another place to do it, which you may have seen earlier when I was in the Managed Institution section. But for either one will work and take you to the same section here. So this is step one of the submission process. When you're submitting to AASHE for a rating and also to publish your data. So all your reporting fields will become public as soon as this process is completed. So the first step here is to update your boundary just to confirm that information is correct. And then the next step here is to confirm that all the credits that happen to be either not started or in progress you're planning on not publishing those as well. So in this case, we actually have a lot because we have only filled out the 2 that Laura just filled out. But we'll assume that we're happy with them. If for some reason we realized, oh, we should have marked this one as complete, or we should have marked this one as not applicable, we can go back and easily click on that and go back into that credit and edit it. I won't do that now. So the next step is actually to submit the President or Chancellor's letter. And this is a PDF file that you'll upload here. And every submission needs to have President's letter, President's sign-off, because we do require executive sign-off on the submission since it is a self-reporting tool and self-assessment. We think that's appropriate. And then there's certainly times when I may have a higher rating or have a rating, a bronze, silver, gold, etc. But if for some reason I'd actually prefer to just be considered a reporter at this stage, I would actually have an option here below the President or Chancellor's letter to select the reporter status only. And then I won't, in the public rating, I'll just be shown as a reporter. So I'll actually upload a President's letter here and move on to the next step, which is the final submission confirmation. And at this point, you're going to acknowledge that, yes, I'm ready for this data to go public. I'm ready to submit to AASHE for a rating. And at that point, you no longer are able to go back in and edit your credits. So I won't actually do that now because it's just a demo. But with that being said, I think I will pass it back to Laura, who's going to talk a little bit about what happens after you submit.
Thanks, Ben. So as Ben mentioned, after you submit, what happens? Also, now that you're sort of using the STARS reporting tool, what can you look forward to come next? So I'm going to talk through some of the reports that will be available with STARS data, both what we have planned and potential additions, and also going to turn it over to you to get some feedback from you. So the first, probably most important, is the public scorecard or the public report. So once an institution completes its STARS submission and makes the data public, the public scorecard or public STARS report is really the centerpiece of their STARS participation. It is, we don't have one to show you yet because none of the institutions have finished their submissions yet, but I know there are several that are getting pretty close, so hopefully this is something we can be able to see live really soon. The scorecard is going to look really similar to that summary page I showed you previously. It's an expandable table. You can click in and look on the various credits and see what was reported for each of the reporting fields. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to edit them, and those internal notes or the private fields wouldn't be made public, but all of the other information would be available. Ben spoke briefly about the difference between STARS Reporter and institutions that are pursuing a STARS rating. STARS Reporter is available for institutions that want to submit their data publicly and want to participate in the initiative but aren't interested in earning a STARS rating, so they don't want to be STARS Silver or STARS Bronze. So for those institutions, this public scorecard is going to be quite similar. You'll still be able to click through and see what was reported for the various fields, but the points and the overall score aren't going to be included in the public scorecard as they would for other institutions that earn a STARS rating. Well, this public scorecard is really important, as I mentioned previously, since STARS is a self-assessment and since there's no requirement that institutions pursue third-party verifications. We're sort of crowdsourcing the verification process by making the information public. The public can sort of hold them accountable for the accuracy of the information. The public scorecard is something to look forward to soon. Another minor feature that we're working on implementing or integrating into the reporting tool is an export function. This is a suggestion we've heard from several STARS Charter participants that it would be really useful to be able to export their STARS data into a PDF, either the entire submission, maybe to present to the president before he or she writes that final letter affirming the accuracy of the submission, or maybe on a credit-by-credit basis or the subcategory. So that's something we're working on implementing and should be available relatively soon. Beyond those two features, which we weren't able to show you today, there's lots of potential for new things to add to the reporting tool. So to get started, we could talk about graphs and charts. This could take several forms. So the first thing I have listed here is a performance snapshot. So this would be a graph showing how an institution performs on a particular credit. This could be really useful for institutions that are using STARS to develop a sustainability report or are using STARS as their sustainability report. So for example, there is a credit in the transportation section about commute modal split, so how are students getting to and from campus. There was a pie chart feature that generated a graph automatically showing 20% of students walk, 30% take the bus, etc. That would help communicate the data, help people visualize it, make sense of it. So that's a potential new feature we could implement. Likewise, there's opportunities to develop charts or graphs to demonstrate progress over time. So we hope that STARS will be a useful tool for institutions to track their progress over time, both their overall STARS score, sustainability performance, or on particular credits or particular metrics within the credits. So that's obviously something more of a long-term piece to be implemented. The other piece is we're hoping that STARS is a useful tool for benchmarking, so to be able to compare your institution's performance to that of its peers. So for example, if you're a research university and you've documented your data based on how many sustainability courses you offer, maybe there's an opportunity to develop a graph or a chart showing how your institution's sustainability course offerings compare to the average for all research universities that participate in STARS. So features like that. Likewise, since all the STARS data is housed in this database, I think there's a lot of potential to create sort of an interface that would allow participants or AASHE members, the public, to search for information to be able to answer their questions about campus sustainability. So for example, here a community college is wondering, they don't have sustainability in their new student orientation and are wondering, how are community colleges approaching this issue? What are best practices? Well, there's a STARS credit in the co-curricular education subcategory about sustainability in new student orientations. If they did a custom search looking for community colleges that claimed that credit, they could find, oh, okay, these are what the community colleges reported and get some ideas. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg, or just barely scratching the surface of the potential within the reporting tool, and then also what we're going to do with the data once institutions have submitted. We really want it to be as useful to you as STARS participants as possible. So with that in mind, I'd like to get your feedback on it. I'm going to show you, I'm still here at the within the reporting tool. There's a handy link up here at the top to get to the AASHE main site. I'm going to take you to AASHE's campus sustainability discussion forums. If you haven't used the forums yet, they're a really excellent place to ask questions, respond to other questions, share best practices about campus sustainability. There's a special option to mark your questions as STARS related, and AASHE staff monitors them as well as other charter participants. You can get good feedback that way. So I'm going to click on this purple link here to talk in the AASHE forums. And the forums come up. I'm going to scroll down here to the Coordination and Planning Forum. I posted a thread earlier, about an hour ago, just opening it up for your feedback. What new features would you like to see implemented? How can we improve the reporting tool? So I would encourage all of you as participants today to think about this maybe as you're working through submitting data for some credits or getting your reports in, to comment on this. It's really easy to comment on a forum post. Just log in with your AASHE account and you can go ahead and post. So yeah, we'll look forward to your feedback. Ben, I'm going to hand it back to him, and he's going to talk through some other resources that are available as STARS participants to help you through the process.
Thanks, Laura. So the obvious starting point would be the STARS website. You can see here there's also some highlighted stuff in the right column. One particular example is the STARS update, our free monthly newsletter, which often has a lot of great information and great tools for collecting data, things like that, upcoming events, educational tools, all sorts of stuff. So it'd be a great thing to subscribe to keep on top of things. You can also see there's a series of links here at the top, which is news and events, about and get involved, which you can find a little bit more about the STARS program. And then if you're having any issues that you have a question that you can't get an answer to, you could always come into the help section here. That help link at the top that I just clicked on has the STARS stacks. It has reporting tool help, which has sort of the basics of how to work through the reporting tool. And then, as Laura just mentioned, there's also the AASHE's Campus Sustainability discussion forums, which are particularly useful for asking and answering questions. Hopefully, when you do have a question, you'll find that it's already been answered in there. And if not, I'm sure it's something that other people would like the answer to as well. So by posting in there, you'll not only get AASHE staff to respond, but you may find that your peers also respond. It's a particularly useful resource. And then you can also find out a bit more about AASHE here as well. There's one other section in the reporting tool. You can get, there's a link called My Resources, which is a useful page just to find out a little bit more about some of the quick links that you might need as a charter participant. You can access the charter participant logo, also find out a little bit more about the brand guidelines for using that logo. And then you can also look at the Word version of the technical manual as well as the PDF. And finally, at any time, please feel free to contact us because we're here to help, and we'll be more than happy to help. So that's stars@aashe.org, and you can also call us at 209-STARS-09. It's here at the bottom of the website. So with that being said, I guess we'll start now, and I'll pass it back to Megan, and look forward to hearing any of your questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Ben and Laura. That was very helpful. And thanks to everybody who's been submitting questions. We'll do our best to get through as many of these as possible in the time that we have left. Just to avoid the screen jumping back and forth, first we're going to address a number of questions for Ben, and then we'll have Laura address some questions in just a few minutes. So Ben, the first question we have for you is wondering if the account administrator has retired, who can I contact to change or update my college's account administrator?
That's a good question. The first person you want to contact ideally is that person themselves. Hopefully you'd still have connections with them and just have them log in and create another admin account for you. And then you could go back in there and either disable their account or leave them however you'd like that to be. If they're retired and can't be found, you can contact AASHE and we'll go through trying to restore that access for you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ben. The next question, does each user create their own password on their first login after the administrator adds them?
Yeah, that's a good question. The way the adding a user works is you add them by email. And if they already have an AASHE account, which many of our members do, they just get a notification saying, oh, this account now has privileges on the STAR site for this institution. So then if they already have a password, they already have an account, everything goes smoothly. If they don't have an account, they get an email to that email address saying you've been granted access, but you first need to create an AASHE account. And once they've created an AASHE account, they immediately have access to the STARS reporting tool. So they create an AASHE account with that email address that they've just been invited with. And as soon as that's done, they then have access to the STARS reporting tool.
All right, great. The next question is, can the internal notes be viewed by the observer, the observer that has that permission, or just by those that have the data entry and admin permission?
Right, that's a good question. That's designed as an internal tool for everybody who is granted access to the reporting tool prior to release. So that would include the observer, yes.
Okay. The next question is, when I hit save for each credit, is the information then made available to the public?
No, there's a big distinction between saving and submitting. You can save a credit. It's a working framework where you can go in and edit. Actually, would you mind giving me the screen really quick, and I'll go through and just...
Sure thing.
Cool, thanks. So I'll come in here, and we'll look at my submission. And as I said before, there's really only this Submit for Rating button, which is the only way that you're going to publicly submit your data. At any other time, if you go into a particular credit and click on the Save button, you're simply going to go back in. Actually, you can see that Laura had a few in here already. But all you have to do is simply click Save, and it stays in your internal data, but it doesn't get published. Hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. I hope so, too. I think it was helpful. And while you still have control of the screen, another question that just came in is, how can I tell what rating level my institution is at throughout the documentation process?
That's another good question, and you can see it under the My Submission section, so I'll go back to the summary. Oh, I've been prompted, yes, I think I'll continue to leave. I don't need to save those changes. And you can see here we've got a provisional score as well as a provisional rating. And those are available at the top of the screen, top of the summary, and also available to you after you hit Submit for a Rating. You can still see, so you're well aware of what your rating is before you submit.
Great. Okay, thank you. The next question for you, Ben, is can anyone from another institution access my data?
Okay, that's an interesting question because the answer is yes. Once you publish it, yes, your data is more than accessible to other institutions. But until that point, no one who you haven't granted access to through the Users tab that I showed earlier will have access to the site.
All right, and a related question, does that mean can other institutions see your institution's progress in the reporting tool, even if they can't see their exact data entry?
No, not as of yet, and I don't think we have any intention of doing that yet, but if we do, we'll announce it.
Okay, great. And let's see, Ben, I think we have one more question for you here. Can I update my institution's data after I've submitted for a rating?
No. Once you've submitted for a rating, that's a one-time process, and that's why there's sort of these 3 steps here to make sure that you're well aware of the fact that once you've submitted, you can't come back and change. Yeah, so check your data before submitting.
Great. Yeah, that's certainly helpful to hear the distinction between saving your data and submitting your data. Thank you for explaining that. Okay, at this point, we're actually going to move over to some questions directed at Laura. So Ben, if you want to give Laura or me, that's fine. Laura, the first question is, can the responsible party be the same person throughout all of the different credits?
Yeah, absolutely. It's up to the individual institution how they want to handle it. As I mentioned previously, the responsible party's name will be made public along with the submission. So if if anyone wants to direct follow-up questions to that responsible party, if you want it to be the same person, there's certainly no limitation to doing that, or you're certainly able to do so.
All right. The next question for you, Laura, is how many users can be added to access the reporting tool for an institution?
As many as you want. The users it's really up to you. Some institutions may find it easier to have only one or two. Others may want to create user accounts for everyone who's going to be entering any data or providing any data. It's really up to you. The other thing to note is you can delete user access at any time. So if you create some accounts and it's really not working, you can cut people off. Or if you want a period of time, maybe the month before you complete the final submission, in which you're going to scrub everything or double check everything, you could cut all users off for that period of time as well. So it's really up to you. There's no limit on the number of users you create.
All right, great. The next question, Laura, for you is how do you decide who the responsible party is or should be for each credit?
Again, that's going to be up to the individual institution. In general, it's someone who will be able to field questions about the submission and someone who really can vouch for the accuracy of the information. So if you feel comfortable saying, I coordinate this program, I can stand behind this claim, then you can be the responsible party. That's generally what you should be looking for, is someone with the credibility and the background about the topic area covered by the credit who can really credibly stand behind the claims included in the submission.
All right, great, thanks. Laura, do you recommend using the public notes field to elaborate on details for each of the programs within each credit?
Absolutely, yeah. Again, it's totally up to the individual institution. If you are, using your STARS submission to really communicate what you're doing on sustainability, and you want it to be really comprehensive and include lots of details, the public notes field would be an excellent place to provide additional background. We have tried to limit the number of reporting fields associated with the STARS credits just to the sort of bare minimum to document that you earn the credit. So in some cases, there are some additional optional fields to provide background. But if you want to provide more information, that public notes field is an excellent place to do it.
Great. The next question, Laura, is what is the time period that schools are collecting data from? For example, for those that are STARS Charter participants, when should they be reporting this information from? The past year?
That's a good question. It's actually pretty flexible. As many of you know, we did a year-long pilot project in 2008 and had about 60 or 70 schools participate in that and provide extensive feedback about STARS credits and the STARS approach. And one of the big things we heard back is that not all data come from the same time period. So some data are collected on an annual year basis, others are collected on a fiscal year or academic year basis. Some data aren't collected every year, they're collected every other year. And so it's actually pretty open. For most credits it's specified, or for all credits it's specified within the technical manual what the guidelines are for the time period for the data. So if there's a requirement that the data come from the last 5 years, or if there are other guidelines like that, that's included in the technical manual. In general, we encourage users to submit the most recent data available, but there's a lot of flexibility on a credit-by-credit basis.
All right, great. Laura, can the reporting tool be used by an institution that wants to participate as a STARS reporter?
Absolutely, yes, definitely. STARS Reporter, so really the key difference between STARS Reporter and those institutions that are pursuing like a STARS Silver or STARS Bronze rating is really just in the demonstration or the display of their final submission. So for STARS reporter institutions, their final points won't be displayed and their overall score won't be displayed, but they'll still have access to the reporting tool and to all of the features that we showed previously. And the point of the STARS reporter is that they're participating in STARS and sharing their data publicly. So yes, absolutely, STARS reporters would have access to the reporting tool.
All right. And does the verification letter at the end of the process have to be from the president?
Yeah, for most institutions, it's called the president. There's a handful of schools that have chancellors as the highest executive at the institution. It does have to come from the institution's highest executive, so the president or, in some cases, the chancellor. It's another one of those strategies that STARS employs as a self-assessment framework or system to make sure that the data submitted and the information included in STARS is really top-notch and really credible. So that letter does have to come from the highest executive, yes.
Great. And Laura, how much time is available to complete the STARS documentation process?
Institutions have 12 months after they register to complete the submission. As soon as AASHE receives your payment for STARS, your registration fee, you'll have access to the reporting tool and can begin documenting your data for the various credits. If you find that 12 months isn't enough time, we will grant you an extension. But 12 months is the standard period, and of course you can finish faster than that if you want as well.
Okay, a couple of other questions for you, Laura. Where can others find a list of institutions that are participating in STARS?
Oh, that's a good question. If you want to hand me the screen, Megan, I can show you really quickly. So I'm actually here at the AASHE site. You can access the STARS site from the AASHE site right here under Program Highlights. I'm going to click on that link. I'm taken to the STARS site. And you'll see up here at the top, there's the middle option here, STARS Institutions. If I click on that link, there's a list of all of the institutions that have registered for STARS. You can see the date that they registered and those details too. They're organized alphabetically. I'll also point out, since I have the screen and we're looking here, this is the same place you'll be able to come once institutions have completed their STARS submission. These institution names will become links. So for example, if American University completes its STARS submission, you'd be able to click on their university name right there and be taken to their summary page showing all of the information that they had submitted.
All right, great. Thanks, Laura. We just received 2 additional questions, and they're directed at Ben. So, Laura, if you want to hand things back over to me. Ben, we're wondering, a question that just came in seems pretty important. Can a person designated for a data entry only inadvertently submit for a rating?
That's a good question. No, they can't. And there's sort of 2 safeguards in place. One is that submit for a rating button doesn't actually show up if you're not the administrative user. And the second is that if you were to somehow get to that same page, you would actually be issued a permissions denied error, so you wouldn't be able to submit.
All right, thanks, Ben. And one other question that just came in. Are there different access passwords for each of the user accounts?
Yeah, each account is its own account, so it has properties such as its own password, its own email address, perhaps the person's first and last name, whatever information they put in when they create their account or when they go to edit it in the AASHE in the AASHE website.
All right, thanks, Ben. We're going to need to start wrapping things up, but before we do so, I just wanted to see, Ben or Laura, based on the questions you've heard, is there any other comments you wanted to add before we start with some closing messages?
No, just thanks to everyone for participating, and a reminder to check out that forum post and send us your ideas for how we can continue improving the reporting tool and making it really useful for you all as participants.
Yeah, I'll share those sentiments. Thanks very much for participating, and yeah, sign up for the STARS update as well if you want to keep in.
Great. And before everybody starts taking off, just a couple of other announcements. First, as I mentioned earlier, this webinar will be made available on our website. In addition to all the questions and answers, we'll be posting them to the FAQ section on our website. Next, please save the date for Tuesday, March 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern. That will be the time for the next STARS webinar, and you can stay tuned to our website as well as the STARS update. That's our monthly newsletter that Ben mentioned earlier for more information about that. Also, right as we end this webinar today, there'll be a short survey that pops up on your screen. We ask that you take just a few moments to complete this, as your feedback will really help us to improve our future offerings. And finally, I just want to thank Laura and Ben for their presentations today, and to all of you for attending. We always encourage you, if you do have any questions or feedback about STARS, to reach out to us. As Laura mentioned earlier, there's the Campus Sustainability Discussion Forums, as well as stars@aashe.org is a great way to reach out to us. So with that, thanks again to everyone for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day.